You can't force creative people to create. You have to try to create the conditions for them to do it, or I think even a better way of putting it is remove the conditions that stop them from doing it.
The Conservative Party doesn't really care at all about people who really need care.
They've been politically astute over the years in doing that. And so I think that's I wouldn't say common, but I think that is a view that some people have. Canada is a big country, lots of people, lots of complicated different views, and you can wind up being squeezed on both sides. It represents a view of government where government shouldn't overtax in order to drive revenue and spend it. It's cutting taxes, which ultimately means less revenue for government and a smaller government.
The CBC is Canadian, and as such, it is a trusted and unbiased source of not just information, but of truth.
You could also argue that Canada is a really big country and there's parts of the country that just can't be covered economically, before canceling the CBC. And I do think it's very biased. But I think that bias has emerged gradually. Look, there is a way in which Justin Trudeau always came off as a bit silly and immature. Like you think about the videos of him as a young person, like throwing himself down the staircase at a party because it was funny, wearing costumes, and there was always a bit of that like flair to him. He always seemed to have a bit of an immaturity. And I think his appeal in 2015, in part, that played into his appeal because he seemed to really connect with young people. He seemed like the beloved drama teacher, I think, for many young voters. And then I think people's opinion really curdled in recent years, and what was once an asset became a real fault of his, and that he just seemed frivolous and silly and not up to the serious task of the challenges of governing.
Smart people with bad ideas can actually get
Right.
a lot more bad things done. So, experience plus intelligence equals potentially really bad things.
There are a few huge podcasts out of the US, Joe Rogan's podcast, for instance, that reach many, many Canadian voters, many more than traditional broadcasters do. The Liberals win this election, it'll be because of Trump and Canadians feeling emotional about Trump and concerned about Trump and seeing in Mark Carney someone who appeals to them as a sort of contrast to Trump or as someone who can handle Trump for whatever reason. We may wind up with a situation where the NDP are at the same size as the Green Party, like just a total fringe party in basically a two-party system in Canada. We always want to assume politicians are like these strategic masterminds, and they
Mm-hmm.
may well be smart and may well be strategic, but they're also just human. I think a lot of people are just, they feel broke, they feel down and negative about their prospects in their lives to like take major milestones like starting a family or owning a home. The fact that conversation has opened up on housing and that we're finally able to like confront that reality, I would like to see that happen on childcare. I would like to see it happen on energy because it's tempting to believe that government can fix things. It feels faster and better. You can't force creative people to create. You have to try to create the conditions for them to do it, or I think even a better way of putting it is remove the conditions that stop them from doing it.
The biggest changes often come as byproducts of our initial policy intention. It's almost
Mm,
as though an accident of history had to happen. You needed the
right,
right players, the right capacity, the desire.
right.
And not to say that governments aren't involved in shaping that accident of
Sure.
history, but
Canada is in such an unfortunate economic situation when it comes to the fundamentals like our GDP per capita, which I think is the best measure of just what how it is to be a Canadian in our living in our economy. Let's put it that way. We have an abundance of natural resources, and the fact that we are not exploiting those natural resources to compete on the world stage and drive growth and grow a bigger pie